Ready for the start of the Pi Audio Australian Touring Car Championship round number 2 from Sandown in Melbourne. Dick Johnson awaits the start. The flag is up. They're racing and getting off the line quickly as Brock a little sideways look at Alan Jones down the inside of the Alpha. And the crowd comes alive as Brock now finds his next gear. Jones goes with him. Then on the inside comes Dick Johnson. Edged out is Jim Richards as Neville Crichton goes through. And look at the dust up here as they come into the first of the left-handers, and it is Brock. On the inside, there goes Neville Crichton. He is out. He's gone into the rough. And one of the Alphas, Colin Bond, also a little off the circuit.
Dick Johnson to second.
Third is Alan Jones. Fourth is Francevic at this stage as they come out of Castrol and now work up towards Motorcraft. A sensational start to round 2 of the Touring Car Championship.
Bond and Crichton in trouble at the first corner. I think Bond might have recovered and got back on the circuit. Can't say the same for Crichton at this stage, though.
Well, both the BMWs not getting the best of starts after looking threatening in practice. Richards up to 6th.
Well, Jim,
Crichton has now rejoined the field.
Here's Brock in 0-5. Alan Jones made a lightning start, but didn't pan out for him in the first corner. Dick Johnson into second, and Alan Jones now into third.
And Francevic up into 4th place in the Volvo.
He's done very well indeed. Not back far behind them is Kevin Bartlett, who has also made a great start in the Mitsubishi Starion.
Then Jim Richards, then Don Smith, also driving a Mustang.
Down to the right-hander, Peter Brock.
Sprinting away as he predicted. He used the Dunlops for another reason. He didn't explain in the interview, but the Dunlop a little softer, and the game plan all along was to try and get a quick couple of sprint laps in there, open up the gap, and then regulate the pace from there on in. Johnson in second, Jones in third, who's been really pushing the Alpha all weekend. The car is set up so very hard, very firm, totally different to Colin Bond's car, which has been set up much softer.
There are 2 Commodores in the race. Peter Brock leading in one of them. Jim Keogh started from the rear of the grid in the other and has come from last to 7th place.
Just listen to the crowd as Brocky goes across the strike and leads the first circuit of the second round of the Touring Car Championship. Queensland's Dick Johnson in second place. Alan Jones getting closer to him in third. Francevic of New Zealand is the next one through. Then the JPS BMW, and a beautiful start there from Kevin Bartlett.
Kevin Bartlett followed by Jim Keogh, then Don Smith. The mix of makes in this Touring Car Championship of 85 is really amazing, isn't it?
It certainly is. And as they come up the back straight towards Motorcraft now, Dick Johnson still running in second, and there's the view from Dick Johnson's car, the Mustang, as we look through the windscreen, and there you can see the mobile Commodore of Peter Brock and the gap back to Johnson.
Here we'll get a good idea of the new part of the circuit too with the race cam view as Johnson pursues Peter Brock through that loop, through the double loop here. Now they come out onto this long sweeping section of the course. Take another right-hander here onto the dog leg. Brings them up to Goodyear corner. And around underneath the Dunlop overpass. Johnson working hard. You can see just in the corner of the screen.
Gary, you get a very good idea now of just why it's so hard on transmission and gearbox on the new Sandown circuit. Notice in the background, Johnson hard on the brakes, up and down from second through to 5th quite rapidly. Jones still around about 3/4 of a second behind, and then the battle. Now Richards really throwing out the challenge in the 635 BMW as the crowd again erupts to the sight of Peter Brock leading at the end of lap number 2.
Brock, Johnson, Alan Jones, and Francevic under dire threat. Here comes Richards.
Richards smoking, but he takes Francevic, and after a very poor start, Jim Richards is back in touch with the leaders again. Francevic, not to be denied, has come again, so he's going to keep the pressure on Richards.
As Francevic said, finishing second is as good as finishing last. He likes winning. get his hands full in that department today, though.
Now, Gary, the gap between Brock and Richards, 7.6 seconds. And that's the one that I think will be the most interesting.
And it was also interesting to note that Francevic didn't make up any ground in that long uphill straight there either. Did in under brakes at the corner.
The owner of the car, Mark Petch, was saying that although the Volvo is perhaps the most powerful car in the field, its inability to get around these tight corners at the moment is meaning that he's coming through something like 15 and 20 kilometres an hour slower than the other competitors, and therefore not really getting the run down the chute.
Crichton, who went off into the sand trap at the end of the main straight just after the start, recovered back on the track and has worked his way back up into 10th position.
That was bad luck, his excursion into the rough, because he'd actually outgunned Jim Richards. It looked like coming out in round about 3rd or 4th place after the first corner, but then of course the mix-up and he wound up in the runoff area. Alan Jones still holding down 3rd, Jim Richards to 4th, Francevic in 5th place. The second Alpha, driven by Colin Bond, sounding very, very much off, and in fact it won't be too long before Brock puts a lap on.
Now the big three up front. There he goes. Peter Brock in the Mobile Dealer Team Commodore. Jim Richards a little further back, still trying to stall off the New Zealander, Robbie Francevic. Dick Johnson in 2nd place behind Brock. Alan Jones in the yellow Alpha 3rd. Now Brock in front quite nicely, thank you. But the question now is reliability. A long way to go yet.
He certainly likes sprinting, and sprinting is exactly what he's doing at the moment, and it's away from Dick Johnson. A similar gap back to Alan Jones, and closing on Jones is Jim Richards.
Oh, Jones, in fact Richards rather, has dropped Francevic off very quickly and is about to mount a very serious challenge, in fact, on Alan Jones.
4.5 seconds between Brock and Johnson, and I'll put the clock again between Brock and Richards.
There goes Brock, the leader. Johnson just in view there in 2nd place. 3rd spot, at least for the moment, is Alan Jones.
Interesting, Gary, the Brock Richards gap now 8.4 seconds, so in fact it's opening.
Here comes Johnson. There you can see Jones, and right behind Jones is Jim Richards, who should have really been up harrying Brock at this stage, but a poor start for him well back, and now he's challenging for 3rd.
Alan Jones, former World Formula One motor racing champion, and on the verge of a big comeback in that department. Hasn't really campaigned since he was successful in 81.
Here's the scrap. Once again they come onto the straight at Sandown. Here's Peter Brock going through. Behind him Dick Johnson, and here comes Jim Richards, really making the big moves on the inside in the black BMW, and now wrestles 3rd place away from Alan Jones. Jones might be quicker here under brakes, and he comes down the inside.
Oh, Dick is off.
Johnson's gone off down in the rough. Can he keep it going?
In a scream of brakes on the corner, he's sacrificed 2nd place. He had it nailed down comfortably. Oh, he's dropped several spots. He comes back onto the track behind Francevic and the Volvo.
Well, he has it all to do now. And that wouldn't have done the tyres a lot of good either. So he is back now behind Francevic. Peter Brock is the race leader.
So 2nd to 5th for Dick Johnson in one fell swoop.
Peter Brock is sprinting, Gary. He's now opened that gap between himself and Richards to 10.7 seconds.
There's Johnson. Now, can he retrieve one or more of these places that he's dropped?
Well, he's coming up on Francevic, and the Mustang should be a little more nimble to get through this tight infield section at Sandown.
Richards just got Jones.
Fortunately, we weren't in audio communication with Dick Johnson when that occurred, because I'll tell you what, it wouldn't have been printable.
You wouldn't have wanted to be.
No,
I don't think so. Once again, Francevic, the brakes, and here's Johnson in car number 17. Will now be putting the pressure on the Volvo driver. That's how close he is. Coming up to the right-hander. and back past the pits again. Interesting to compare the speed difference of these two down the straight.
In theory, the 2.9 litre turbocharged Volvo should be a bit quicker with 310 brake horsepower. Dick's Mustang with 300 brake horsepower. But the Volvo definitely not getting out of corners as quick as it should. But this will tell us the story. Past Ian Thompson.
Crowd giving Johnson a big hand as he makes a run down here on the inside of the Volvo.
This is where he lost it last lap.
Now pulls down the inside, not much room there, but Johnson comes back and the crowd give him a huge cheer here in the grandstand as Johnson makes it back again into third place. Or fourth place, I should say.
Takes one spot back. You're going to find it a bit tougher, though, to reel in Alan Jones, who's holding down third at the moment. Well, poor old Dick Johnson, he was comfortably in second place when he spun out. Look at it again from the ISO at race cam. Hello. Oh, how's your lunch now? Heart in the mouth stuff for Dick Johnson. Into the sand trap, and lucky, in fact, to get out of it unaided.
Well, he kept the power on. He just caught the edge of the sand and then on some of the loose dirt down there. Fortunately, I don't think has done a great deal of tyre damage. Very lucky indeed, though he didn't puncture a tyre coming off there. But he's fought his way back into fourth place. Brock still leading very comfortably from Jim Richards, then Alan Jones, and then fourth place now held down, of course, by Dick Johnson. Francevic still sitting in behind him.
Yes, Francevic is nothing if not determined, and he's quite serious about mounting this Volvo challenge for the Touring Car Championship, and he's learning an awful lot here at Sandown today that he's going to put to good use in the rounds to come. A total of 10 rounds for the championship this year, so there is still plenty of time for things to unfold, and of course Seven Network will be tracking the championship across Australia and bringing you the coverage. Peter Brock leads here from Jim Richards, the winner at Winton. Alan Jones, there he is, third spot. Dick Johnson, the green Mustang, is fourth, and Francevic, the Volvo, is in fifth place. Alan Jones, wheel up there over the...
He's really been hurdling the Alpha around, not only at Winton, but here at Sandown. Running third on the road at the moment, and Dick Johnson closing on him. Well, that's it. The Australian Touring Car Championship, 1, 2, 3. Let's check them out. Brock leading in the Commodore. Second place, Richards in the BMW, and third place to Jones in the Alpha. We'll take a break and then return live to Sandown. Not only here, of course, at Sandown, but also at Bathurst. He's 40 on Tuesday. And, of course, wins at Bathurst in 72, 75, 78, 80, 82 and 84. I think he owns the mountain. And at Sandown, well, they haven't found a driver to beat him here yet. Of course, he's won the Enduro here 9 times. Getting off to a good start. Here's Peter Brock coming down the straight. Still leading from Jim Richards and Alan Jones. And right behind Alan Jones is, of course, Dick Johnson.
Oh, right behind. Goodbye.
And here comes Johnson on the inside to take away one more spot and move to third. So Dick Johnson of Queensland. Crowd just love that. Coming up to the right-hander, we might have a chat with Dick Johnson when we get onto Motorcraft Straight. All the concentration required here as he comes down to Castrol Corner, the left-hander.